Hey guys, and welcome to today's episode of Surviving the Fog. Today we're going to be looking at all the totem spawns in the brand new map for the Silent Hill DLC, the Midwich Elementary School. Now, for those of you who have seen my videos before, you kind of know how totems work. If you've played the game, you kind of know how totems work. If you haven't done either, here's how totems work. Every map will spawn with 5 random totems spread out throughout the map. These totems are determined randomly, and you can never know exactly where each totem is going to be. So the point of these videos is to kind of help you guys understand where the totems could spawn in each map, so you have a better understanding of what to look for in case of, let's say, ruin, no one escapes death, or hex third seal for whatever reason somebody's running that. Now this video is going to be a little bit different because we found that an unprecedented amount of totem spawns in this map, 45 to be exact, so we're going to go through and set them all based on rooms and the levels in which they're found. Yeah, that's right, 45 different totem spawns, and there may be a chance we missed one, so let's get into it and we'll start showing you the spawns of the totems here on Midwich Elementary. The first one we're going to look at is in the courtyard and is the most iconic thing in the entire elementary school. This one is going to be at the clock tower. Courtyard is on the first level. The totem for the clock tower is going to be in the very back in this corner right here. This is also a spawn for the hatch in case you are looking for it. So if you hear it coming from the outside, odds are it's here. Alright, the next one we're going to look at is in one of the jungle gyms in the courtyard, one of the 3 jungle gyms. This one I've labeled the open air jungle gym. It has a lack of pallets, there's usually no window vault, there's not a destructible wall to speak of, just usually some half walls and a bunch of lockers around the area. There is sometimes a chest that you can find. This totem is going to be tucked in the corner of one of the small walls here behind a bush, so keep an eye out for it if you happen to be in the courtyard. Now the second jungle gym we're going to look at in the courtyard is the one window jungle gym. It's mostly open, usually doesn't have a pallet, but it's very discernible by its one open window and the breakable wall next to it. I have seen chests here every so often, but you'll get a couple lockers. The totem is once again going to be kind of hiding in one of the corners here, usually around the outside. It can be positioned in a couple ways, so keep an eye out for it. Alright, the last jungle gym and the last totem that we're going to look at out here in the courtyard is going to be the pallet jungle gym. It gets its name from it's pretty much the only jungle gym out here with a pallet, and usually has a fire barrel in the middle there. The totem is going to be kind of around the outside. You'll see it because it's usually hiding right next to the trash can around one of the outer walls there, so kind of a hard one to spot unless you know what you're looking for. Alright, this next one is going to be in the 4 square exit gate. That's right, they brought totems back into the exit gate. This one's named the 4 square for the obvious 4 squares. Both exit gates look different, so this one's a pretty easy one to spot. You just gotta get right back up next to the gate there, and it's hiding behind some boxes. Now, sticking with the theme of the first floor, we're going to stick with the first floor and then move up the stairs and get our way to the second. But this next totem is going to be on the first floor hallway. It's going to be on the hallway with the 4 square exit gate. This totem will always spawn in front of the office here next to these lockers and the chairs. This is one of the few hallway totems that will spawn in this exact space. Continuing with first floor hallway totems, this next one, this can be on pretty much any one of the 4 hallways in the downstairs. It's a pretty easy one to miss, so sometimes you might have to double back to it. It's going to be behind 2 sets of bowed out lockers in the V formation, and it's going to be tucked away behind one of these lockers, so always check twice as you pass them. Alright, sticking with the first floor and outside the hallways, we're using the 4 square exit gate as a point of reference. Go down past the office here, take a left, and you will come to the downstairs bathroom. Now, this totem is going to be in the downstairs bathroom, however, it's going to be on the closest inward, not the one with the crying girl, but right here on the corner At the end of the stalls, you will notice this lit totem. This next one, we're going to use the bathroom on the downstairs as a point of reference. I'm labeling this Downstairs Classroom 1. Now this classroom can have a couple different configurations, so it may not look like this, and you'll see coming up in the video, but this first totem here, it's going to be in the back of the classroom, closest to the bathroom, and it's going to be wedged in between some of the lockers here. You'll notice it because the locker it's behind is kind of sticking out a bit. Heading back into the downstairs classroom for the second totem spawn of this room. As you can see, this room configuration is a little bit more tormented. The roof caving in, stuff coming up out of the ground, and a big mass of body meat. Anyway, this totem is going to be toward the back of the room. It's going to be next to the countertop and right next to one of the big masses of bodies. So go ahead and stop on in there. Sticking with the downstairs, but coming out of that classroom, we're going to go to what I've labeled the downstairs library. This is due to the fact that upstairs there's a nice little room tucked away with a bunch of bookshelves, which I'm calling the library. This room is directly underneath that. You'll notice this has the broken ceiling with the ramp that goes up into the library, as well as this back part of the room having a blocked off, a breakable wall. This totem is on that back wall with the breakable wall tucked behind a bookshelf underneath the ramp that goes upstairs to the library. Coming back into the downstairs library, we're going to take a look here at totem spawn number 2. Now this one is again directly underneath the upstairs library, and it's in the back of this room. The back of the room is going to have a bunch of tables with a pallet loop. This totem is going to spawn underneath the table in the back corner of the room, so keep an eye out for it whenever you're looping out there. Alright, continuing on the first floor, we're going to go down the hall from the downstairs library room, and we're going to move into what I've labeled as Downstairs Classroom 2. Now, Downstairs Classroom 2 is going to look very similar to the Classroom 1, except for a lot more desks thrown all over the place, and it's going to have a bunch of biomass balls as well. Now, this totem is going to be spawning toward the back corner of the room, closest to the library, and it's going to spawn underneath the end of the table in the back of the room there. Kind of hard to see sometimes. Alright, coming down still on the first floor. When you come down one of the staircases directly to your right, you're going to notice this room that has a bunch of lockers, a bunch of couches, a couple big desks, and a couple bookcases. This room I've labeled as the downstairs lounge because it kind of looks like a teacher's lounge. Anyway, this first totem spawn is going to be nestled on one of the side walls behind the couch that is at the door closest to the staircase. Alright, coming back into the downstairs lounge, you'll notice that this room doesn't change too much. The configuration is mostly the same, unlike some of the other rooms where the configuration can be slightly different, so it'll be easier to spot and find the totems in this room. This totem spawn number 2 is going to be directly underneath the big desk in the back next to the chair. Alright, the next one, you might not believe this, but yes, we are going back into the lounge. That's right, the third totem spawn in the lounge. Now, I said before that this configuration doesn't change too often, but in this case, it does. So when the configuration changes, you'll notice a set of 3 bookcases towards the front large wall of the room, and this is where the totem's going to be. It's going to be nestled in the corner right in front of one of the bookshelves. So go ahead and take a look right there if you happen to see this configuration. Continuing down the first floor next to the second exit gate that we haven't looked at yet, this room is going to be to the right of the exit gate as you're coming out, or to the left as you're looking at it. This room is going to be the medical center. I've named it that because it kind of looks like a medical center. Anyway, this totem is going to be toward the back long wall where that hole to the exit gate is going to be, and it's going to be tucked between 2 gurneys. Coming back around the first floor to the 4 corners exit gate, we have another medical center with a strange configuration. It actually has some hospital beds laid out. This one also has a totem spawn in here. It is in the back corner of the room. As you're coming into the room, take a left and you'll see it tucked away next to the sink and next to the medical supply closet. Now, coming out of the 4 square exit gate to the left this time, or to the right if you're looking at it, we're going to come into what I've labeled the downstairs office. It kind of looks like an office, and it has a nice reception desk looking area in front of it. So this first totem spawn in here is going to be directly underneath the reception desk on the inside of the room. That's a pretty easy one to miss if you're running pretty quick. Alright, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, how can there be any more totem spawns? Well, don't worry, we're almost done with the first floor. So the next totem in the office is the office totem number 2. This one is going to be tucked away in the little lounge room behind the reception room, and it's going to be toward the back wall behind one of the bookcases there. It's really hard to see and hear if you're not paying attention. Alright, I swear, this is the last totem spawn on the first floor. It is again going to be in the downstairs office, the one with the reception counter in front and kind of the lounge area in back. Now this totem is going to be right next to the opening to the 4 square exit gate, toward the back left corner of the room, behind one of the bookshelves. That thing's going to be sticking out, and you'll see that one pretty easily. Alright, now that the first floor is over with, we're going to be starting to head on upstairs to the second level and show you the totem spawns up there. Now before we get up there, however, there is actually a totem on the first floor, on the first stair, second stair landing here. So as you're coming up the stairs, it's going to be hiding behind one of the big old meat pile blobs. Pretty easy to see, so keep an eye out for that one too. Alright, now that we are on the second floor, let's take a look at the second floor hallway totems. Now, most of the hallways on the second floor are going to be the same, except for one that has a drop down into the courtyard. This first totem we're going to look at, it can be on either the left side of the hallway or the right side as you're facing the courtyard. So keep an eye out. It's going to be tucked behind these lockers here, kind of poking out. Easy to see coming one way, not so easy to see going another. Alright, for the upstairs hallways totem spawn number 2, like I said, these hallways, most of them are going to look the same, and they can be flipped either the left or the right based on how you're facing the courtyard. So this one is pretty much similar to the first totem spawn, except for it is a mirror. Instead of coming at the totem from the left side, you'll be coming at the totem from the right side. It's going to be tucked behind the locker as well there. So just keep an eye out whenever you're going down the 3 upper hallways. Alright, as we move down the hallways up here on the second floor, this next one is going to be pretty easy to spot. You might happen to see it in your periphery upon passing. This next totem is going to be between a couple lockers here. You'll see like 2 lockers on one side and 1 locker on the other, and it'll be sandwiched right in between there. So this one's not too hard to miss. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. Still on the second floor here in the hallways, this next totem is kind of unique. It'll be inside one of the lockers. The door will be open, so you should be able to see it without a problem. However, it has a little bit of a twist. It's going to be at the end of the hallway. This end of the hallway totem, however, is only going to spawn next to the staircases. So if you're at one with a breakable wall or one of the classrooms, you don't usually have to look for it. If you're near a staircase, take a quick glance over to the left as you're coming up. Alright, the last totem spawn that I found up here on the second floor hallways, I noticed, and I'm going to be looking towards the jump down exit gate, which is the 4 square, a lot, because I've only noticed it on this side. It's going to be a totem that's tucked behind some of the lockers like it was on the first story, but it's down here at the end of the hall instead. So keep an eye out for that. Probably not too hard to miss. Now continuing on the second floor, just like on the first floor, the second floor also has a bathroom, the upper part. Both of the bathrooms have drop downs, and the back one has a breakable wall that the killer has to break to have a secret way down to the first floor bathroom with a breakable wall as well. In the backmost bathroom, you'll notice this totem spawn in between the last stall. Alright, now I know what you're thinking. I said there were no more totem spawns on the first floor. Well, I'm using the first floor library room as a point of reference so you can kind of see how easy it is to get up there. So you go up the first floor library ramp into the second floor library for this next totem spawn. This next totem spawn is going to be in the back library room, and as soon as you come up the ramp, you're going to notice a set of bookcases to your right. Well, this totem is going to be tucked behind the bookcase that's kind of poking out there as soon as you come up the ramp. That one's usually a pretty easy one to see, but there you go, the first one in the upstairs library. Alright, continuing in the second floor library, the second totem spawn here is going to be again in the back library room here with all the bookshelves and the bookcases and the ramp coming up from the first floor. This next totem spawn is going to be on the back wall, the wall that is facing the outside of the school, and it is going to be between two bookcases towards the front of the room, toward the inside, and you should see it as you walk in. Now, the third and final totem spawn that I have found in the upstairs library is actually going to be in the front portion of the library here. So the front portion of the library is the one that's connected to the outer hallways, and it doesn't have the ramp down. This totem is going to be toward the back middle of the room next to some biomass balls and some uplifted bookshelves. So go on, check around it, and you should see it there. Alright, continuing in the second floor, coming out of the second floor library, and to your left you will come up to what I've labeled as the upstairs classroom. This classroom looks kind of similar to the downstairs classroom, except for the big difference is the big cages in the middle of the room. This first totem spawn is going to be pretty much right in front of the door that you enter in, toward the back, in some of the lockers here, tucked behind some desks and biomass ball. Alright, now for upstairs classroom, it can have a couple different configurations here. This one is the most obvious totem in the entire map, in my opinion. This classroom configuration has not been touched, and for totem spawn number 2, as you can see, this totem is pretty much directly in the center of the map, underneath one of the desks here. It's pretty hard to miss. If you miss it, you might need to adjust your gamma a little bit. Coming in from the other side of the classroom for the third and final totem spawn of the upstairs classroom here, you'll notice the configuration is pretty similar to the first one, with the desks everywhere and the big cages in the center here. However, this totem is going to be towards the opposite side of the room of the first one, and it's going to be right next to the desk at the front of the class. Alright, now down the hall from classroom 1, as soon as you come up one of the staircases and you take a right, you're going to see what I've labeled as classroom 2, or the globe classroom, because there is a globe on the teacher's desk in this classroom. Anyway, this classroom is the adjoining classroom to classroom 1 on the second floor, as you can see here. And this first totem spawn is going to be in the middle wall that connects the two inside one of the lockers. Now, much like the upstairs classroom 1, upstairs classroom 2 can have a couple different configurations. This is dependent on how tormented it is. In this version, the desks and the chairs are thrown all over the place. There's a couple more cages, some biomass balls. In this configuration, totem spawn number 2 will show up, and it's one of the more deviously placed totems. It's next to some stacked chairs and one of the cages towards the entrance of this classroom here. Now for the third and final totem spawn of upstairs classroom 2 in this configuration. A lot less tormented, still have the cages and the desks, but a little more open area to walk around. In this configuration, there's a bunch of lockers towards the back of the classroom on the adjoining wall between classroom 1 and 2, and the totem is going to be tucked away in one of the lockers there toward the middle. Alright, as we continue down the hall from the staircase, instead of taking a right, we're going to take a left here and go into everybody's favorite room. This is the jump scare room with our friend Buddy here. He jumps out of one of the lockers and scares you. If you haven't seen it yet, sorry guys, spoiler alert, there's a jump scare. Anyway, the first totem spawn in the jump scare room is going to be nestled in the locker. This locker can be all over the room, so take a look around. Alright, just to give you guys an example here, we're going to go back into the jump scare room, and I'll show you, like I said before, the totem can be in the locker and the locker can be all around the room. This one is instead of in the front of the room, these lockers are in the back with the totem hiding in it. So take a look around and you should find it. Alright, we're coming up towards the final totems on the second floor. This next one is going to be in another famous room, the lab room. You'll notice the lab room has the periodic table posted in front of the door. This has one of the 2 gens that you need to complete to open up the clock tower, the lab gen and the gen with the piano in the room. Once you finish those, during endgame collapse, you'll open the clock tower, but the totem here is between the 2 lab tables towards the back of the room. Alright, sorry guys, I forgot to add this before. This is one of the classrooms. It's with the open desk instead of the totem in the middle or at the desk. This totem is in the back of the classroom next to one of the walls. It's going to be towards the joining wall between the 2 classrooms instead of towards the end of the room. So you should see it. They just switched the table around, that's all, but it's still there. Alright, well this is it. We showed you the totems on the first floor, showed you the totems on the second floor. Now we're going to show you the very last totem, which is on the 3rd floor staircase, and it is blocked off by a wall and behind some biomass. So if the killer catches you up here, he's going to hit you. So either break it quickly or hope he didn't see you come up here. Oh man, that was a trip. Okay, well, yep, this is by far the longest totem spawn video that I have ever done. I believe it was somewhere around 44, 45 different totem spawns, and like I said, I probably missed a few. Thanks to everybody who made it this far. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you'll be notified whenever we come out with more. I'm going to try and make it my goal to give you guys as much information as you can to make sure you not only survive the fog, but figure out how to stop those pesky survivors from living. So until next time, peace out, and stay safe out there in the fog.